Hi everyone, welcome to another session with Dr. Sylvia. I'm a general practitioner and health educator with AskAwayHealth. Thank you so much. If this is the first time you're watching or looking at the video on the channel, I appreciate you joining me. And today we're going to be talking about, I think, a very important topic. I know that many women have asked this question, been concerned about this issue with regards to the risk of breast cancer with birth control. So we're going to get into it. To my usual viewers, so sorry that we couldn't have a video live stream on Friday. It has just been so very busy. You guys know I wear many hats, so I do apologize. And this came up impromptu, but I came across this study and I thought it was a good one to discuss and share with you guys what the study actually says and what women should be doing about their use of birth control methods. So we're going to get into it in a few minutes. If you're watching the channel for the very first time, you are so very welcome. Please like the video, consider subscribing to the channel. We do talk about everything health related, and I'm sure you will find something on the channel that will be of interest to you, whether it's around sexual health or general health, to do with the health of your child or the health of your man. We cover everything, so welcome. Right, I'm going to be sharing my screen in a couple of minutes, and just to give you a bit of sense of this study that we're going to be talking about. And forgive me if I'm looking down a few times. It's just that I've made a few notes of things I want us to talk about, and when I do just check in to see the things I wanted to bring up, then I'll be looking at my notes. That's all it is. So let me just start by sharing the screen. Hopefully you'll see that. Give me a second to just do a quick sound and visual check on my phone to make sure that everybody is seeing this. Where are we here? It is on silent. Let's see. Fine. So let's have a look here. So this should be showing. I think this should be playing now. Okay, yes, it is. Yep, fantastic. Okay, so that looks to be going well. Apologies for the break in transmission, but let's get started. So this is the study that we're looking at today. I just wanted to show you what it looks like very quickly, and I'm going to put the link in the description box below for everybody who wants to check it out and read through it. It is quite lengthy, it is quite detailed, but if you're so minded, then please go through it. I'm going to put the link in the description box below. But this is the study that was just published when? Earlier this week? Was it this week or last week? Just a few days ago. And of course in an authoritative journal. And it is a study that's looking at the combined and progesterone-only birth control and breast cancer risk. So this is a very new study. Now, why is this study necessary? Let's just quickly talk about this. Why do we need this study? Yes, of course, as a woman thinking about birth control, when you hear about the different side effects that these medicines have, one of the things that we always talk about is the risk of breast cancer. And for the combined methods, which are those methods of birth control that have both estrogen and progesterone, we know that there is a small association, an increased risk in breast cancer for women who are taking the combined method. So whether that's the pill or the patch or the ring, for example, there's a small increased risk of developing breast cancer. And that risk is also present just after they stop taking it. But then it begins to wear off. So by going to 10 years after a woman has stopped taking using the combined method, that risk, because of the method, has disappeared. Her risk is pretty much the same as somebody who has not used a combined birth control method. So that is the position. That's what we know with regards to the combined birth control methods. But we were not so sure about the progesterone-only methods. We didn't have the certainty, the information available about the risk of breast cancer with progesterone-only birth control methods. It was not very much. It was very slim. Now, why is that relevant? Well, because many more women today are using the progesterone-only method, it becomes very important for us to be able to say with some degree of assurance or certainty, what is the risk? Is there a risk? And what is it? So many more women are using the progesterone-only method today compared to 10 or 20 years ago. In fact, it's according to studies, by 2020, there were almost as many prescriptions in England for the oral progesterone-only method or the mini pill as you have with the combined oral contraceptive. Okay, remember that the combined ones were so popular. They're the ones that have always been used for several years until the progesterone-only methods began to be more began to gain more popularity. And because we're using these drugs more, we want to be clearer about the risk. I remember that many women might opt to go for the progesterone-only method, like the mini pill, the progesterone coil, the progesterone implants, the depot shot. Many women may choose to go for these options because of some side effects they might experience with the combined method. Things like migraine headaches, some women experience those. We recommend that women who smoke or women who are overweight should not use the combined method because of the increased risk of problems on that particular method for those categories of women. Usually women who are breastfeeding are advised not to have the combined method, but they can have the progesterone-only method while they're breastfeeding. So there are many reasons why women are using the progesterone-only methods more. We haven't even talked about the convenience. For example, you can have the progesterone implant, it's in your arm for a number of years, or the, or the coil can be there for a number of years and you don't have to worry about it, and that convenience. So for many, many reasons, women are using this method more, and so it is necessary to be familiar with what issues could arise. So this study that I'm showing you that you can see on the screen, this study is an important one, a valid one for the authors to go into detail about. Let me tell you a little bit about the study and then we'll look at the findings. So it's a large study. It's what they call a nested type of study. And that means a study where you get a group of people with a particular condition and then you match them. You match each of them with one or two people who don't have that condition, but they have other similarities. So in this particular instance, okay, they got a group of women who had diagnosed with invasive breast cancer between 1996 and 2017. And they matched them with women who did not have that diagnosis, but they were similar in terms of their age, and they were in the same general practice. And by the way, this study was in the UK. If I haven't mentioned that, my apologies. This was in the United Kingdom. So they matched this group of women together and they studied them over a similar amount of time. They eventually ended up with almost 10,000 women who were diagnosed with cancer. And the matches, the women that they selected that matched them, were over 18,000. So this was a really big study. And the good thing about a big study is that you can say that the findings are more likely to apply to a general population. It's better than if you had a small study of 50 people or 500 people. This is nearly 10,000 women plus 18,000 matched. They're looking at what, nearly 30,000 people altogether. So this is a study that was, good because of its size. The other thing was they were looking at the types of birth control that these women had been prescribed over the study period. So the important thing was these women were not of a menopausal age. So what they did was they tried to reduce the risk of selecting women who were on hormone replacement therapy. That's where I'm going. So it's a bit tricky because, of course, you know that some women could enter into menopause early, some later. But they used the cutoff point of 50. So they didn't want women above the age of 50 or any women who were taking HRT, so that it wouldn't confound or distort the findings. Anything that they were seeing, they felt to be most applicable to a woman because she's using the birth control method. Because remember, you have similar hormones in the HRT and the birth control, but in different quantities, different. So majority of these women, most of them were between the age of 40 and 49 years. Just under 20 or just about 20% of them were between the age of 30 and 39 years. And just 2% were between the ages of 20 and 29. The other thing which I thought was a positive or strength about this study was the fact that they were looking at actual prescriptions. So when I say actual prescriptions, so they're looking at the records from the general practice of each woman. They're looking at the notes. So they're not relying on what a woman remembers, because some of the studies, many times, if a woman has breast cancer, you're then asking her about what kind of birth control she'd used in the past, and you're relying on her to remember what she'd used and so on. And while some women can do that okay, some may not, and so it makes it difficult to be certain that the information you're getting is accurate. But in this case, they had confirmed documentation of prescriptions that they had been given. So you could say with certainty that during the time of the study that they were looking at, Lady A was on this particular birth control while Lady Y was on the other, or not, and so on. That information they could get accurately. Now, in terms of the nature of the study, one quibble that I have, and which the study mentioned, was that they didn't really address things like ethnicity or the socioeconomic class of the woman, which you could say, yes, that would be interesting to see what kind of pattern comes out there. But they also conducted an analysis of other studies, similar studies. They looked at the different results from different studies and compared to theirs. And they said, well, when those studies looked at ethnicity and socioeconomic class, and it didn't really make an impact on their results. So they felt, okay, we didn't do it. It might not take much away from our study. Okay, let's leave that. The only other thing as well, or the other couple of things that I thought, and they mentioned that they could have used in their study, was identifying each woman's family history of breast cancer. Remember, that's important in breast cancer, isn't it? So they didn't have any information about the family history of breast cancer. They also didn't have any information about the woman's weight or BMI and use of alcohol, which that's interesting, because that's information that you'll probably be able to pull from GP records. So why in particular, I think they mentioned that this information that they could have had access to it, but they didn't really identify or put it together in their study, because it would have been useful to know whether this could have confounded the results, because there is a risk of cancer with increased or excessive weight and with alcohol use. And the other thing that they mentioned was, yes, they knew that they had accurate records for their prescriptions. That was fine. However, they only had accurate records for the period of time while they were looking at this, while they were observing these women. What if those women had been in a different surgery before they came into this, into the current one when this study started? What if they had been using other types of birth control before these records that they were looking at? There was no way that they could account for that. So it's important to just bear this in mind. And the reason it's important is when studies like this come out and you're trying to look at how much relevance or how much weight should you give to this kind of study, you want to look at its weakness and you want to look at its strength. And part of the job of the people who are doing the study is to highlight the things that are weak about their study. There is no perfect study. But we try as much as possible to minimize anything that could conflict or confound the results. And so these are some of the things that they pointed out, that, well, this study was a little bit weak in this area. We explain it, or we compared to other studies and we didn't think it was of such relevance, but we note it. So that was good. Now, I think I've been sharing this, so let me just come away from this. Actually, you can see me quite clearly. So let's deal with this and while we continue. So we talked about what we knew before, what was the situation with regards to the study, why they felt it was important to have this study. Now, what in terms of breast cancer risk did we know before we had this study? We know that in women who do not use birth control, breast cancer is extremely rare before the age of 30. Okay, you will agree with me that the risk of breast cancer increases as a woman grows older. And we knew the risk, I mentioned that earlier, of breast cancer with combined birth control methods, but we didn't know the one for progesterone-only methods. So what this study was going to show us particularly was the effect of using progesterone-only method on breast cancer risk. So what did they find? So they announced, I'm not sure if I can find it. If I scroll down, remember I studied it earlier and I said, if I can't find it, I'll just read it out to you. What the results were. Yeah, there's a lot of percentages and a lot of numbers here. Let me just read it out to you. So this is what they found. This study that included nearly 10,000 women in the UK aged under 50 years with breast cancer. Okay, those prescribed oral combined contraceptives, oral progesterone-only contraceptives, injectable contraceptive, and progesterone coil or intrauterine device were found to be at an increased risk of breast cancer. So that's what they're finding. Okay, they said, okay, we knew about the combined already. Let's narrow down into the progesterone-only method. And they said, in particular, they discovered a slight risk, which they quoted or they calculated as between 20 to 30% of developing breast cancer in women less than 50 years who were currently using or had recently used the progesterone-only contraceptives. Okay, they also said that across the different types of progesterone-only methods, like the pill, the mini pill, the implants, the coil, the shot, it was similar. The risk was similar. There were very slight differences. And the other thing they found that was interesting was that on average, the time between a woman's last prescription for her birth control to when she was eventually diagnosed with breast cancer was about 3 years. And so you can say that this study, the results of this study, apply to women who are either currently or have just recently stopped using birth control methods. So it's applicable to women using it. Okay. Now, remember at the beginning, I told you that majority of these women in this study were between the age of 40 and 49. I think that's really important to remember because it means that the absolute risk, okay, is actually much smaller in younger women. Because and this is what you expect with breast cancer in itself, without any, in the absence of using any method, that it is higher in older women. Okay. The other thing that was also good that they, to remind us, because it's a UK-based study, and so it's good to remember that these results apply to women in high-income countries like you find in UK, in Europe. But we know that breast cancer currently in middle income and lower income countries, the risk or the occurrence of breast cancer is lower in those countries. So you could potentially say that in women in low and middle income countries using these progesterone-only methods have a lower compared to women in higher income countries. You could say that. So this is the study. It was just published, literally just published. What should we say about this study? What is it that, how should we behave as a result of this study? Let me just come up here and let me just put this up I prepared earlier. So this is the study. What is it that we should say? What is it that we should do? Okay, first of all, it gives us information. It is helpful. It's giving us information we didn't know. We probably just speculated about. We used a bit of caution to just assume that there's probably a small increased risk of cancer with progesterone-only methods. That was the thinking that we sort of had. We're not sure. But given that we have a very large study, I think this is giving us improved information. It's enlightened us that, okay, we have better certainty that these progesterone-only birth control methods are associated with a small risk of breast cancer for women who are currently and who have recently used it. But the risk is bigger in older women, and simply by the fact that women in higher income countries are more likely to develop cancer, we can say that women in lower income countries or middle income countries who are using these methods are at a lower risk. The important thing is to look at the relative risk, and that's why I often share this infogram with my patients. Let me share that with you. So let me take this off. Let me just take this banner off so that you can see it. I'm going to share with you an infogram that I often share with my patients. Okay, so hopefully, let me take it to the top. So this infogram is courtesy the Women's Health Concern, which is a patient arm of the British Menopause Society. And really, we use it to apply, or we use it to look at how lifestyle factors compare with using hormone replacement therapy in developing breast cancer. So this is a popular, and it's really useful because it shows you it sort of shows you the things in pictures, in picture form, and so you can sort of quickly come to understand what the risks are. So first of all, this is referring to the very first one at the top, the 23 cases of breast cancer diagnosed in the UK general population. Mind you, this document is a few years old, but it's still good as a reference document in terms of just trying to explain what we're trying to do. So this is for 1,000 women aged 50 to 59, you will find 23 cases of breast cancer diagnosed. Now these are women who just, when you do a study in the population, out of 1,000 women, you will find 23 cases of breast cancer. Now, if you add things, if you now change the population of 1,000 women and put women with certain characteristics into the group, how many more or how many less cancer cases do you end up with? So this next one says that you will develop an additional 4 cases if you have women taking combined hormone replacement therapy in that group. If these women, this 1,000 women, are on estrogen-only hormone replacement therapy, you actually have 4 less cases of breast cancer diagnosed. If these women for some reason are on the combined pill, so let me just scroll down so that we come here. Okay, so if these women are on the combined contraceptive pill, you have an additional 4 cases to the initial 23. That is where we have 1,000 women. There is nothing particularly different about them, nothing special about them. But when you change their characteristic and add the combined pill, so they're now taking the pill, you will get an extra 4 cases. Remember, we started with 23, but when you add in the combined pill, it now becomes 27. Now, what if you do something different to that group of 1,000 women? They are now drinking. If they are drinking 2 or more units of alcohol per day, in that group of 1,000 women, you have an additional 5 cases. So instead of 23 being the risk of breast cancer, it will now be 28. So you can see that alcohol has an association with developing breast cancer, even more, slightly more than the combined pill. So this is why we talk about relative risk and just being aware of these things. And it does help some women make the decision. What about smoking? Smoking also increases. So if in the 1,000 women are now smokers, you're more likely to find, instead of 23, there will be 3 additional cases, making it 26 who develop breast cancer. And what about if these women, in that 1,000 women, are overweight? Okay, you find that you have 24, can you see, 24 more cases of breast cancer happening in these women because weight now changes their risk. And the last bit here is for women who take at least 2.5 hours moderate exercise every week, 7 fewer cases. So if you have 1,000 women and they're taking their exercise, you're likely to get 7 fewer cases of breast cancer. So exercise obviously reduces the risk. So I share this I shared this graphic. Let me go back to the top so that, and I'm going to put the link as well. So if you want to sit down yourself and look at it, I'll put it in the description box once we finish the stream. If you wanted to study it and learn about it, that's perfectly fine. So I wanted to share it with you because this is what I share with my patients as well when we're having this discussion in the clinic and trying to make a decision about, you know, what, because people hear lots of things either on social media or their friend says this or this happened to this person, and this is the evidence that's there. And it's important that you know there is of course big fear and understandable fear about breast cancer, and every woman of course will want to do anything and everything in their power to reduce their risk. And so if you're trying to make a decision between the risk of breast cancer and the development of an unplanned pregnancy, and you're looking at your options, it's good to sit down and think, if a woman were smoking, if a woman were taking alcohol, if a woman were overweight, what are those independent risks? What are those lifestyles, those particular things also contribute to breast cancer? And then you can put, using the birth control pill, whether it's the combined or, as we now know, the progesterone-only method, you can then put it into a particular level. You can put it, you can rationalize it, you can decide, okay, which has the bigger risk. For instance, this is clearly showing us how being overweight has such a huge risk compared to things like alcohol and smoking. So it's important to be aware of this risk. And let me, as we sort of round this up, I'm going to share my last the screen I wanted to share with you. Let me just pull it up, because we have a statement from our authority on sexual and reproductive health care. So I'm reading from the Faculty of Sexual and Reproductive Health Care. This is a statement in response to a new study on the use of combined and progesterone-only birth control. Again, link will be for you in the description box below. So after going through this, there are a couple of important statements, but it's mostly reassuring, informing. There's really not going to be much change in terms of what doctors are recommending to women. We're not going to stop recommending the progesterone-only methods because of this study, even though it has given us a lot more information and helps us to be more clear about the effects. But what is most important is that we're having clear discussions. And that's why I wanted to bring this up, because I talk a lot about birth control on the channel, because I want you to understand how it works. I want you to understand the impacts on your body. I want you to understand that you're making an informed choice. I want you to understand when you're using this method, how to use it effectively and so on. And I thought it was good to bring this before you. So the statement is that, you know, we want to reassure women that the level of risk involved remains small, and you should not feel that you need to stop taking the pill or using other forms of contraception because of this new research. Despite the small increased risk regarding breast cancer, contraceptive pills have also been shown to actually decrease the risk of developing ovarian or womb cancer. It is notable that many other factors like exercise, alcohol intake, and smoking have far greater impact on breast cancer rates among women. And it says this research must be viewed in the context of the well-established benefits of oral contraceptive use, such as preventing unplanned pregnancy, reducing the risk of certain cancers, and protecting against acute pelvic inflammatory disease and ectopic pregnancy. Finally, it is also worth highlighting that women are most likely to use contraceptives under the age of 50, when the risk of breast cancer is much lower than in older age categories. So this is the response from a representative, the vice president of the Clinical Quality Department of the Faculty of Sexual and Reproductive Health, giving that statement that I have just been reading out to us. So I hope I was able to demonstrate and explain the study a little bit, explain the benefits and the of the pros and cons, the strengths and the weaknesses of the study, and why it's important, and how to interpret, what to take away from the study. Please let me know If you have any questions, use the link in the description box below to our email health information service. By the way, I'm celebrating the our upgraded, lovely looking website. If you haven't, I shared it on my community post earlier today, I think, yeah. In fact, let me just share it with you. How can I not share it? But I'm so excited about it. But yeah, we've upgraded our website and it's looking fantastic. It's really, it's so easy to use. Here, so let me just share the screen. It's so easy to navigate, and I'm really pleased with the way it's looking. I think you guys would love it as well. So if you haven't, please hop over to go and check it out. Yeah, but the website has been upgraded and this is what it looks like. So yeah, this is AskAwayHealth, committed to you. So a really clean looking site. What you need, you can find it easily. You schedule an appointment if you want to subscribe to our membership community. This tells you what we do. If you want to reach out with a question, so you can use this button to ask me a question. So that sends you to our email health information page. Of course, we want you to support the work that we're doing. So if you feel like you want to, please donate to us. We've got a huge video library, so you can check those out on the channel as well. And then, of course, our concierge service tailored to your needs. And of course, we've got an amazing blog section. So guys, there's so much that is going on, and I'm really excited to introduce the upgraded website to you, and I hope that you enjoy looking through it. So that's where we'll wrap things up for today. I hope this has been helpful. I hope this has been informative. Let me know if you've got any questions. Please use the email health information service to send a question out concerning this particular topic, any concerns about breast cancer risk. But yeah, this is what I wanted to bring out to you, fresh, hot off the press. So guys, thank you so much for listening, and looking into the new week. I hope you have a great one. I am hoping that we'll come back to regular Friday live stream scheduling. I can't even get the words out now. I'm hoping we come back to regular Friday live stream scheduling. I will let you know if there are going to be any breaks. But just in case you're interested, I am coming back on live stream in a few minutes, because I do have another interesting topic to talk about, which is taking hard decisions after prenatal screening. Taking hard decisions. I think it's really interesting, and please come and join me if you want to stop here. I'll contribute to that discussion. You know, I love to hear from you. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I haven't even reminded you guys. Come on. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Like this video. And if you found it useful, let me know in the comment section, and tell me what kind of videos you'd like me to cover as well. Tell me, you know, if this kind of explanatory videos help to move you forward, and you're not sort of lost in all manner of information going back and forth on social media or from one person to the other. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. I will see you again soon. Bye bye.